Good morning, wherever you are. I'm speaking in the morning. You may not be watching in the morning. Welcome to my little corner of the universe here. And I have something I want to share, but first of all, I want to preface my remarks here. So, if you watch some of my other videos, um, I was a drug addict for 14 years. And and I haven't used drugs since 1976. And that's I was also an alcoholic. And that's well, you do the math. I think it's 47 years. And I'm not saying I'm perfect because I'm not. I'm not saying that I've arrived um, because I haven't. Uh, but I do have a little bit of insight, and if I wait until I'm perfect in order to express myself, that may never happen. So I'll express myself now the way I am, and anybody's welcome to put comments down here. However, I won't tolerate insulting, degrading comments. And I'm going to leave it open for comments. And if you do that, I'm going to delete your comments. And I made a previous video. You can, um, it was entitled Why I Left Alcoholics Anonymous. So, and some people at least liked it, and others not so much. I'm going to make another video here, and I'm going to call it Why I Left Victory Outreach. And I want to say this about Victory Outreach. This is my experience. And I have a certain amount of, you know, working with drug addicts, trying to help drug addicts recover, that's not an easy task. And uh, anybody that's willing to do that, I mean, you, let's face it, if you lived a life of addiction for many, many years like I did, um, you're plenty screwed up. And there are people that are willing to do that, and God bless them. So I'm going to tell you just about a little bit of my story here. So Victory Outreach used to go into, I don't know if they still do or not, but they used to go into the California Rehabilitation Center, which is the largest treatment center in the world for drug addicts. Still is, still exists, I believe. And I was there, actually, I was there twice, but I was there in 1976 and 77 the last time. Oh, is that right? Yes, I believe so. That's correct. Um, I was released on April 1st, 1977. So was that an April Fool's joke? I don't know. But at any rate, while I was in there one day, a guy in my dorm said, "Well, you want to go to church with us?" And I'd been going to AA and NA meetings in the institution, and said, "Yeah, well, sure, why not?" So I went in there, and Sonny Argenzoni came in. He's a very well-known preacher, and he was giving his testimony, and without going into a lot of detail, it, it did look like a miraculous event occurred. And so that had an effect on me. And when I got out, I did start going to Victory Outreach. And at that time, Victory Outreach wasn't as big as it is now. And then I went to St. Louis Street. Church was filled, and I remember at the time they were trying to establish a ministry over in Santa Ana and having a hard time. But um, I started attending, and and I started reading the Bible, and another Christian type literature. I remember reading a Catholic tract that Jesus was God. And I started reading it, and I didn't really have much of a background. I'd been to church a few times as a youth, you know, but my parents weren't church going people regularly. And so I didn't have a big background. And I was so naive. I thought all Christians believed the same thing. And turns out, as you probably know, they don't. And I started reading the scriptures myself. And and I was troubled by this, what I was hearing about Jesus being God. And all I can tell you is that it didn't sit well with me. But I was open minded and I had questions. So, um, and one day I asked Sonny Arganzoni about that. I said, "Is Jesus God?" And he just told me, he said, "Well, I believe he is." Okay. And then I asked him about another ministry that I was investigating, and he said, "Well, I don't know about that." I said, "Okay." And I read the scriptures some more, and I went back to the church again another day, and I went and I said, "I have some questions. I want to ask Sonny some questions." And he wasn't there at the time, but there was an associate pastor there. A guy came out, and I don't really know his name. And uh, I said, "Well, what about these passages in the scriptures?" And it's so long ago, I can't really tell you all the scriptures that I was quoting him. And I do remember one of them, and one of them was what Jesus said, "My Father is greater than me." And so I asked him about that, and I said, "Well, how if Jesus is God, how can he if he is God, how can he say the Father is greater than me?" And there were some other scriptures, like I said, I don't remember. It's too long ago. I can't remember exactly what they were, but I quoted him the scriptures and I asked questions. I said about this, and I said, "What about this? What about that?" And then on one scripture, he told me, he said, "Well, I went to the Greek," and he he sort of pulled rank on me, and I didn't know what to say about that because I don't speak Greek, and I don't know, but it was like I'm the authority and I went to the Greek and this is the way it is. And finally, he got a little bit frustrated with me, I think, and about my questioning. And he just said, this church believes in the Trinity, and went back into his office. And that was the end of it. Well, I went to this other minister who I respected. I don't think his name's important right now. And I talked to him on the telephone. And he said to me, I asked him the same question: is Jesus God? And he said, no, Jesus is God's messenger. And to be honest, I that's uh, that sat well with me. That resonated with me. And he didn't say any more than that to me. That's all he said. So now at that time, this is many years ago. We're talking about 1977. I didn't know very much. I just knew that, hey, this troubles me when people say that Jesus is God. And I knew when somebody told me that, hey, Jesus is God's messenger, that resonated with me. And that's all I knew, nothing much more than that. Now, and for that reason, uh, I stopped going to Victory Outreach. And I certainly, I was a drug addict. They call it the addict church. And yes, God bless them. They're trying to help drug addicts. And I remember I went to Sonny and I said, you know what? I got a demon. Um, I confronted him one day outside the church. I said, I got a demon, and and he said, yes, I'm going to pray for you. So I don't have, I don't have an axe to grind about them with them. I think they're trying to do a good work, and they've helped a lot of people. I know Victory Outreach has helped people. I have Art Blaho's book, Blood In, Blood Out, and it's a good book. It's real, and so 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 if going to Victory Outreach leads you away from a life of crime and out of the California prison system or wherever you're at, because Victory Outreach is worldwide now. You know what? God bless you. But that's the reason why I left. Now, since that time, um, I've come to understand a little bit more than that. And um, if you really investigate the matter, um, there's one scripture in particular, and it's John 1:1, I believe, and it says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." And then later on, and a little bit later in John, it says, "And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us." And yes, it's true. If you read that, that's what most of the translations say. If you read that, it does say that Jesus is God. I agree that it does say that. However, if you do a little bit more research on the subject, if you delve into it a little bit more, you'll find that that's a very questionable translation. It's very questionable. If you, and I believe it's the New English Bible, if you get out the New English Bible and look it up, it says something like this. It says, and you have to excuse me, I'm doing all this from memory. It says, in the beginning uh, was the Word, and the Word was with God, and what God was, the Word was. It's not quite the same thing. It doesn't say that that the Word was God. So it's a very questionable translation, and you can um, um, and if you want to look more into the matter about that, Um, um, uh, the guy that I think writes the best on the subject is Kermit Zarley, and he was an evangelical, traditional Trinitarian Christian for many years, and then he had a light bulb moment when um, when he realized, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense, and so he writes very credibly and very good and very well about how the scriptures have have been mistranslated really. And he talks, I'm sure you find it online. His light bulb moment was when they asked Jesus, when will the world end? And Jesus said, uh, uh, I don't know. Only the Father knows. Now, I realize that Trinitarian Christians have explanations for all these things, explanations that really don't make a lot of sense. So that's why, that's the reason why I left, and uh, questioning the doctrine of the Trinity was not welcomed. I think I can say that in all honesty. So um, uh, let me gather my thoughts here for a moment. So that's the reason why I left. And now I've had over the years, and some Trinitarian traditional Trinitarian Christians are very, they don't all have the same view of people that don't believe Jesus is God. Some of them think, well, if you don't believe Jesus is God, you're not a Christian and you can't be saved and you're going to hell. Well, okay, that's what they think. And 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 they'll get downright angry at you. If, I've had Orthodox priest, no, excuse me, not Orthodox, Anglican priest get very mad at me when I say, well, no, Jesus isn't God. It's like, how dare you say that? Oops. Phone call from, spam call from somebody coming in. So anyway, we'll just have to be a little patient here till the spam goes away, and I'll finish my thought. Okay, there it is. So, uh, yeah. So I guess all I'm saying is, yeah, victory. If you go to Victory Outreach, well, God bless you, and and but I couldn't accept that, and questioning it was not really too welcome, at least at that time. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I've had friends that are Trinitarians, and and we just sort of agreed to disagree. They weren't their orthodoxy, if that's what you want to call it, was not a straitjacket to them. So I want to say a couple of other things. That the 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 whole history the whole history of of Trinitarian theology, it's very interesting. And if you look, it wasn't until I think it was 321 in the Council of Nicaea that they voted that the church voted that Trinitarian doctrine in and said that Jesus was God. That wasn't church doctrine before that time, and that's very interesting. And it was Emperor Constantine that did that, and the whole history of it is very interesting because depending on who the Roman emperor was at that in the third century, depending who it was, the position of the church shifted back and forth. Jesus is God. No, Jesus is not God. And so this has been a controversy that's been going on for uh, over 1700 years. So I don't think my little video is going to end the controversy. And let me just end with this. Um, Jesus himself asked Peter, whom do you say I am? Or who do men say that I am? And then he said, well, some people say you're, he names, I don't remember the name, John the Baptist, whoever. But he said, who do men say that you are? And then Jesus said to Peter, who do you say that I am? And Peter said, thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus replied to him, he said, blessed art thou, Peter, for I have not revealed to you but flesh and blood, but I've not revealed, flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father in heaven. And then he went on to say, upon this rock I build my church. And I know Catholics have a interpretation that they put on that, but um, upon this rock I build my church. Um, to me, the meaning of that is that Jesus was saying, I build my church upon the rock of people who realize the truth for themselves. So that's my story. And I don't expect after over 1700 centuries, 1700 years, I don't expect the Catholic Church to come out and say, well, no, we were wrong about the Trinity, that Jesus is not God. Um, I don't expect that to happen. In fact, I don't expect any well-established church that's teaching the traditional doctrine of the Trinity. I don't expect any of them to admit that they're wrong and change the teaching. I don't expect that to happen. So, but nevertheless, I'll make my little video, and you can. What I would encourage anybody to do is investigate the matter themselves, and it's the spirit that reveals these things, and uh, yeah, and I had a friend that once said to me, he said, "I believe in the Trinity, but just not like they do," and meaning that he didn't believe that, in my opinion, he didn't believe that Jesus was equal to God, and Jesus himself said, "My Father is greater than me." So look, I've ranted on here for 24 minutes, probably longer than most people wanted to watch, and I hope I said something useful. And again, God bless Victory Outreach for what they're doing. and but